Welcome back to the Daily Mastermind. My name is George Wright III with your daily dose of inspiration, motivation, and education so that you can unleash your true potential. I'm so glad you're here with me today. I hope your week has started out amazing. I want to go ahead and start out right now with the quote of the day from the Daily Mastermind mobile app. And if you haven't downloaded the mobile app, I suggest you go to iTunes or Android Marketplace. Get that thing downloaded. You've got so many free, amazing resources in there. The quote of the day today is by Zig Ziglar. It says, "Do more than you're paid to do." Do more than you're paid to do. I love that quote because it goes back to the concept we talk about a lot, which is how you do anything is how you do everything. And sometimes you just need to do things out of the sheer motivation and inspiration you have in your life right now, and not just because you have a job, not just because you need to make a paycheck, but with a purpose. And that leads us into the topic today, which is The Alter Ego Effect by Todd Herman. This book that I've been really digging into, I want to highly recommend that you get this book. And just to set the stage for you for a minute here, I'm going to read to you just a paragraph out of the inside cover to give you an idea of what it is. It says, "Before stage fright, imposter syndrome, emotional baggage, and the other dubious gifts of adulthood, everyone pretended to be a superhero, a favorite athlete, an inspiring entertainer, a nurse, a firefighter, a lion, or whatever else captured our imaginations. And yet the natural creativity is slowly squeezed out of us because we're told that it's childish or it's time to grow up. Now Todd Herman, backed by scientific research and countless stories from the real world, will show us how to tap into the human imagination to unleash new versions of ourselves, ready-made to kick ass." I love that because I really do believe that most of you, if you're listening to this podcast, you're on a journey to be able to help grow and create the best version of yourself. And creating the best version of yourself sometimes takes a lot of work. It's an ongoing process. It's a lifelong process. But the bottom line is this: there are ways. Todd Herman is a very well-known peak performance coach that allows individuals to hack their inner game, their inner world, and perform at huge, high levels. You know, some of the greatest athletes, celebrities, entrepreneurs, and others have created alter egos that allow them to show up at super high levels despite, outside influences or lack of confidence or belief, or even just to go to the next level. Because as I mentioned last week, our true success, our true greatness lies outside our comfort zone. That's why you see individuals like Beyonce Knowles and Kobe Bryant with Black Mamba and many others. Listen, there are entrepreneurs, executives, all kinds of individuals that performed at really high levels even prior to the skills and influence that they have today. And I believe this book is an amazing way to hack your outer game while you work on your inner game and develop all of that growth that you want as an individual in your relationships, your business life, and life in general. So I want to just highlight a few items in the book, but I'm going to really just encourage you to get into this book and kind of really dig in. It'll help you to construct and go through and develop a true alter ego that will allow you to use your imagination and perform at super high peak performance levels. So the first concept in the book I wanted to highlight is the power of the alter ego comes from your core self, because we all have a core self. The core self is where all possibility exists. It's the deep inner core where a creative force resides waiting to just be activated. Right? You have to have this imagination and creativity and make a decision in order to truly activate that. But the problem is that we sort of confuse all of our core self with all of the other things that influence our thinking and emotions and behavior and who we really are. And he talks about there are 4 other layers that influence you. One is your core drivers. This is outside this inner core layer, there's a layer of core drivers, which is what motivates you. And outside that, there's a layer of belief, which is how you define yourself. And then even further outside that, there's another layer called your action layer. It's how you show up. It's how you perform on the field of battle or business. And then the outside furthest layer is the field of play. What's happening in your life? And all 4 of these things are influences. And all of these basically layers influence and shape the way you feel and how you see yourself. And that affects how you show up in life. Because there is the ordinary world, which is a lot of times where we find ourselves trapped. And then there's this extraordinary world, the one where you can find your heroic self. But both of these represent the typical experience that someone feels. It just depends on how you're approaching life and your experience every day. It's like I talk about the filter that you use. Are you going to use a filter of an extraordinary world, or are you going to be caught up in the ordinary world? And, Todd goes on in the book to talk about the enemy, this hidden force of the enemy. The enemy is a force creating inner conflict and dialogue and stopping you from showing up as your heroic self. So it's important to understand what that is. And this enemy that we have inside, it's stealing the moments from you. It's taking your safety and it's keeping you stuck in this ordinary world. And the common forces that hold you back are things like not controlling your emotions, or lacking self-confidence or self-esteem, worrying about what other people think, doubting your abilities, taking, and not being intentional or having a bad attitude. These are all forces that are harder to detect and control in your life if you don't recognize them, right? They're hidden. And they come in the form of things like imposter syndrome, when you feel like you're not enough, right? Or personal trauma, because you feel like these things in your life are affecting the person you are and how you perform. And then there are narratives, like you'll hear, Tony Robbins and many others talk about. What's the story you're telling yourself? What's the story you're telling yourself that most likely is not true, because your core inner self has greatness. But if you're not clear about who you want to have show up in the field of play, you can end up being trapped in this ordinary world and stuck in these narratives and these imposter syndromes that you have. So awareness of your ordinary world and your extraordinary world, that awareness by itself empowers you. And the book really gets into a lot of great topics with that. The other thing he talks about is the power of your story. Now, there's a lot of different people that have kind of hit the idea of your power of your story. But just what I like about what Todd says is, he says in the book, for just a moment in time, just a few minutes even, anyone can suspend the stories that they've been carrying with them throughout life. Anybody can overcome that hidden enemy and force that keeps you ordinary. All it takes is your willingness to suspend your disbelief, your willingness to get creative and have an imagination. But it takes intention. That's what this book is all about. The intention of creating your extraordinary world and that version of yourself that you're going to play at for just a moment in time, or just while you're in the game, right? So to begin the process of getting clear on your goals and outcomes, you start by, analyzing your field of play. What do you want to experience more of? What do you want to continue experiencing if you're experiencing it already? Or what are you going to start experiencing? What do you want to have in that extraordinary world? And the book kind of guides you through some ways to create that version of your extraordinary world you want to live in. Is it lifestyle? Is it family? Is it core relationships? Is it the talent and confidence and self-esteem? Whatever it is that you want to experience, you want to continue experiencing, experience more of, or start experiencing, these are the things you need to define. And then he goes on to talk a little bit about the power of a mission. And this is where it gets really good, because it's not as easy as just saying, I want to be this superhero and have this confidence or assertiveness or decisiveness. The power of a mission is huge, because the great characters in movies and literature, they all seem to have, something bigger than themselves, this mission. It gives them, meaning behind the effort and the struggle and the challenge. But when you begin to attach what you're trying to achieve to something bigger than yourself, a deeper purpose, a mission, this is when things really get good. And so I like how the book kind of goes into that as well. Now, I'm not going to get into it on this because I know we don't have a lot of time, but the book really does go into a deep level of defining your superpowers and crafting your name and your identity, because it is important for you to create and visualize something real, what I mean is real in your mind, right? Your superpowers that you select are going to be ones that are the most important for you to overcome what's holding you back, or to perform at the level you need to there. So you start with the superpowers you want to create, and then you choose someone or something that you admire. Sometimes it's right in front of you, and you develop that alter ego. It might be a superhero, it might be an animal, it might be whatever it is, but it's gonna have these superpowers that you're gonna need in your life. It might be confidence, it might be, like I said, assertiveness, decision making, it might be fearlessness. Whatever it is, these are the things that you're going to identify as the top 3 or 4 things you want. And then we'll breathe life into your alter ego and talk about how your origin story happens. And he'll guide you through some really good exercises on how to create a true story and narrative around this alter ego, and some ways that you can use totems and things like that to kind of get you going, like many people have used with a uniform or glasses or wearing a certain thing, or whatever. But ultimately, here's the bottom line. I know we're short on time, and I just really wanted to cover this concept because ultimately, you are going to decide who is going to show up on the field of play in your life. It's going to be your heroic self, or it's going to be your ordinary self. But you have to decide at what level you're going to play the game and what skills and talents and energy that you're going to bring to your field of play. And I understand we're all growing and working on becoming the best versions of ourselves. And there's a lot, some of us feel like we have a lot of work to do and others don't. But this book has been an amazing way to just immediately jump into the best version of yourself through visualization and imagination. It's a true hack to get your performance going. That's why Todd Herman is so well known around the world as the peak performance coach for both business and athletes. So I'm not even going to begin to discuss all the science and neurology and history that has proven that these strategies work. You'll have to just read the book and research that for yourself. But for now, I hope this is something that helps you to elevate your game, because sometimes the road can seem long, and especially when we're working through emotions and feelings and stories and narratives that we have. But I'm telling you, if you will grasp this concept and move with it, you will have so many indirect benefits that'll help you to create immediate new experiences, new levels of achievement outside your comfort zone. And this will in turn give you confidence, give you more belief, and give you more success in your life. And confidence and belief and success just gets you more confidence and belief and success. And it helps push you even further. So I hope these thoughts and these concepts have helped you. There's some really great stuff out there in addition to the book. If you'll Google it, I know Mike Dillard has an amazing podcast interview of Todd Herman. We'll do what we can to get Todd on the podcast as well. But for now, I hope you'll realize that it's never too late to start living the life you are meant to live. And I do believe you have greatness inside of you. You have a core self that is a heroic self. If you will just learn to tap into that and suspend all your disbelief for just a moment in time, you will see that you can perform at an amazing level. So anyway, that's my message for today. I hope you have an amazing week. This has been the Daily Mastermind, and my name's George Wright III. Have a great day.